The 11th of April 2024. As you know, the loony left and the loony greens are destroying everything that's useful. Their electric cars is not going too well for them now anyway, and there's a huge problem which I've identified before, and that is faulty mechanical parts being made usually in India and maybe China. Now, a part such as a clutch housing or a crankshaft or other stuff like that, or a camshaft, should be made out of the correct steel for the purpose. Okay, the engine body might be made out of cast iron or aluminium in some cases, a good form of aluminium. The piston liners would be made out of a certain type of steel which has high friction resistance, and so on and so forth. And it must be heat treated. It must be brought to a certain temperature, cooled in a certain way, and various steels have different ways of cooling. For example, EN19, which is a very popular, good quality alloy steel because it hardens and treats well, has a few quirks. If you harden it and then you temper it up about 260 degrees centigrade, if you don't bring it up higher before you let it cool, that steel can become very soft and no good. So there's a skill involved in making good quality parts and in treating the various stuff there is. Now, I know a man who fixes gearboxes of cars, and there's terrible problems, including Toyota cars, not so much the RAV, terrible problems with the quality of the gears. They're breaking all the way. Up in Dublin, several gearbox companies have queues miles long outside of their garages. And in one case, this man had a broken shaft in the gearbox, and there was grains of sand and little stones and pebbles embedded in the steel where they melted it down in the in poor conditions. Now, this is coming into its own more so, folks, here, and there's a dwindling supply of parts, and this is what the Greens have done. They've told us it'll be all electric cars, you won't need mechanics, you won't need internal combustion cars. That's not working out. So what's going to happen now is we'll all want internal combustion cars, but we won't be able to get anyone to repair them because the colleges are telling young men and women you can't be doing that stuff. Now, so what this says here is due to this is a report from Aamc Resources. It's a Facebook report. Aamc Restorations, sorry if I said resources, please forgive me. Aamc Restorations. So this is people doing up engines and all of that. Due to the dwindling supply of quality machine shops and very poor quality aftermarket parts, as well as the lack of people interested in learning the engine building and machine shop trades, I regret to inform many of our followers and current as well as past customers that we will no longer be taking on any new engine build. So this is to do with building ordinary engines. Engine build orders unless it is for a car we are restoring. So this is a company that used to restore cars themselves, and then they do one for you, but they'll not do it unless now it's their own car. Since COVID, we have had to do rework on multiple engine builds due to poorly manufactured parts that failed during break-in, or machine work that was below our standards due to all the old farts like me dying off. In other words, all the senior people are retiring and leaving and dying off, and no training or no one to replace them. Why, oh why do the gum-bean ditherheads in Dublin-based South vote for Eamon Ryan? Do they need transport as well? Do they not realise this is an inevitable consequence of putting that Cabbage head in charge of anything, with no younger workers interested in taking their place because they're told there's no future in it? You're a young mechanic and you go to look for a mortgage, or you'll be gone in a couple of years, you won't get a mortgage. For example, rod bearings are now made too thin, resulting in 390 to 401 crank grinds needed to be ground to 0.0085, 0.0185, 0.0285, under standard rod journal size. In other words, you can't use the standard journal. The journal is the part of the connecting rod that goes around on the crank. You can't use them. They're not coming exactly. And I have got stuff from eBay, and the same happens. The actual size maybe of a drill or something might be right, but there's a pilot on it or something, and it's not right. Yet all but one machine shop in the entire Phoenix area, so this is Phoenix in America, okay, that's Arizona, area, refused to do anything other than the standard 0.010, 0.020 and 0.030 grains. So they'll only go standard, so they won't adjust the machines because they haven't the competency to do it. Even worse, when the one shop that will grind the cranks the way we tell them, we need them losses. No, I'll read that again. Even worse, when the one shop that will grind the cranks the way we want, the way we tell them to do it, loses their work grinder to retirement. In other words, the grinder retires in another year or two. They do not plan to replace him. See, machine work that used to have a turnaround of 2 to 3 weeks now takes 2 to 4 months due to the acute lack of people interested in learning machine work. Lord Almighty, that there is no greater pleasure than doing machine work. Working on a milling machine or a lathe, well, for me anyway, is heaven. It's heaven. And doing manual psychic labour. Right now, what's that about? Now, due to lack of people interested in learning machine work and doing manual physical. Sorry, I got me that. Sorry, that I got it wrong. It's very, very small print. Physical labour. Well, it is a kind of physical labour. You have to fit the parts and the chucks and all that. So they don't want to do physical labour in Phoenix, in Arizona. In fact, one engine block was at the machine shop for a year. When we got it back, they did such a poor sleeve job on one cylinder that it was not even usable. So it is now 250 pounds paperweight. The engine is useless. They couldn't fit the sleeve for the piston to go up and down into the engine block. Okay, that's very small print. About 15 years ago, I nearly bought out an aging gentleman's machine shop and continued to regret not doing so. He didn't actually buy it, and he regrets not doing so. I'm always on the lookout for little pieces of equipment all the time, due to the lack of availability of places to get the work done. So he was thinking of doing it himself. Now, and I knew a man that used to grind car heads and all that, not too far from me, and he retired too. He retired. As for poor quality parts, Edelbrook aluminium heads are now such poor quality and filled with so much manufacturing machining slag. That's when they cast them, they don't take out the slag, and they don't remove all the alien bits, that we have to completely disassemble them, reset the valve stem and spring heights, and even sometimes have them resurfaced because of the slag scratched in the head. They're substandard cylinder heads, right? Gasket surface, the cylinder head gasket surface. Similarly, there are only a couple of camshaft engineers remaining that harden their cams correctly, and nearly all flat tappet filters are now such terrible quality and inconsistent hardness that we're no longer willing to risk losing a cam due to poor cams and lifters. Now again, due to poor cams and lifters. Now, what's happening there is, very, very small print, what's happening there is they're not grinding them in properly. They're not putting the lifter that lifts the valve. You know, it's like a T-shaped top valve. It's a poppet valve actually, up and down. So they can't get them done right. So terrible quality and inconsistent hardness. They're not properly hardened. Inconsistent hardness that we're no longer willing to risk losing a cam due to poorly made cams and lifters. Let the man off with his engine, and he gets up the road and the whole thing blows up on him. Whole thing breaks down. That's the consequence of this. In fact, we now only use either rollers or custom ground flat tappets with Johnson made lifters from Howard and Herbert. So that's a company in America. So they're only buying the custom made ones, more cost. For example, we have probably used 50 or more Summit cams over the past 15 years, but the last 4 we used did not even make it through break in. So they're broke when they rev the engine up. So that they are now off the list of acceptable quality parts as well. So what does all this mean? We will honour whatever engine builds that are not part of the full restoration that we already have in the queue. However, we must warn all those who have been patiently waiting for their engines to be built that supply chain constraints, in addition to the rapidly declining parts quality along with the lack of quality machine shop workers, is resulting in our anticipated wait times to get an engine built, often doubling in duration. And if anyone is tired of waiting and thinks they can do better elsewhere, we will fully refund the deposit and wish them well. This is what you get when you let an idiot like senile Joe Biden run on the show. That is what you get when you put a dope like that in charge of your country, and when you let the media tell you what to do, and when you had a man building up the industries and recovering American industries, Donald Trump, you got rid of him. That's the cost you pay. So if you voted for that idiot Biden, you are getting what you deserve. But the rest of them, unfortunately, have to suffer for what you do. What used to take a couple of weeks to get back from the machine shop can easily take 2 to 4 months and more, resulting in the overall engine backlog now being 15 to 18 months. The bottom line is that custom engine building is on its way to becoming extinct, and it won't be too many more years before all of us old farts, as he calls himself, that currently do this work either retire or die off, resulting in engine building within the collector engine hobby becoming nearly impossible to find. And when you do find someone, don't be surprised if they're backed up for 2 years plus or more, and that they only want to do Chevy builds and know zero about our beloved AMC engines. The times they are changing. So in other words, they're only able to do the stuff that's standard. It's the same. You go into the engineering shops, the farm centres supplying parts. If it doesn't fit into the computer model, out you go. You needn't be talking about UNF treads or BSF or BSD or BS5 or Unified Find. Not a hope. And any know it all that are not in this business, who try to show everyone how smart they think they are by declaring that these conditions do not exist, despite literally hundreds of others saying they are experiencing the exact same thing. They have their comments deleted because they are clearly talking out of their ass. So the thing about that is, folks, you get the point I'm making. The media deny this. Surely the lack of engine buildings, the lack of lorries buildings is going to impact our economy. Where are the engineer shops doing up all this? Where is the future in this? This is where we won't be able to get them. And this is the deliberate doing down of the automotive industry to try and force the electric things on us. And we should be very, very worried about this. I want to read an Irish man, this was a circular going around, and I want to read an article by a script by an Irish engineer, a production engineer, and I'll just say what this man said. I was looking at a report on Boeing. Their manufacturing process control procedures are extremely poor. Now, these are the people that make the engines you're flying around on, folks. Engineering quality in the USA is now extremely low. See? What other way would it be? With Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer? I suppose when your manufacturing companies are run by lawyers and accountants, what else can you expect? There's nothing wrong with the accountants if the engineers are also there. In actual fact, production engineering sometimes involves a degree of accountancy, so about payback periods and all of that. A good engineer studies a bit of accountancy as well as the mechanical engineering. Projects costs are kept to a minimal and margins are maximised to create bigger profit. See? Profit is all that counts. And you're flying around in this thing. The odd plane falling out of the sky is tolerable. So they don't mind if one of yours that you're in goes down. It's only when it keeps on increasing that heads roll. If project design budgets are now higher and design properly executed, no planes or very few would fall out of the sky. So if project design budgets were highly and designed properly executed, a wee bit convoluted there. It means if the thing was done right. So there'll be no planes crashing. Before they solve the problem, they need to train more skilled technicians and engineers. We need fewer but better beam counters who know their real place. We don't need as many of these promotional things, a big display, oh Boeing, oh we're the crowd, oh all this, oh we have these big things, oh we're grateful on that, and we have proper recruiting. We recruit LPGPQ, woke women, transgestation, and all of this. This is what they're doing, and this is why they're losing the wars. They haven't the proper equipment. They can't make the equipment. But Russia and China and even North Korea can make them. I saw today North Korea is after successfully test firing a 240mm rocket. I mean, it's something else. But you cannot run an economy without engineers. I love engineering. I just talk engineering all night long. I'm built that way. But it doesn't have to be like me. It's still, and even with computerization and computer-aided design, you still need the person that understands the materials, the heat treatment, and their application and all of that. And we are driving that out of our education system, and all we have in minute and professors all over the place is they rang up, hello professor, why are you not training people to build engines? Oh no, climate change. Ring up Limerick, oh why are you not able to have an engineering department? Climate change. Ring up Waterford Technology, oh LBGPQ. Ring up Dublin City University, or Dublin University, whatever it is, at DCU, whatever it is. Why can you not teach people how basic making things? Well, the reason is it's climate change, and what about your boss? Does he not do anything about it? Well, he won a big prize there for being LBGPTQ. He's a transsexual black man. He come here last week from the Punjab or Somalia or something. Oh, he's doing a great job there. This is the mindset of these creeps. And Sinn Féin is worse than any. You're not going to get any relief in Sinn Féin. It used to be Fianna Fáil had a wee bit. They had a wee bit of respect for the engineer and for things. Not anymore. So I just want to condition the people coming up to the election. This is the reality of the situation. I went to the vocational school in Carrickmacross years ago, and we had all a big workshop there, forge in it, a Colchester lathe, and I thought it was absolutely great. I used to love going in, and I'd be sorry going out after the hour class and all of that. That day seems to be gone, but you won't do without a little bit of knowledge about the modern world, and you will not do without the parts and all of that. And if you rely on China to supply it to you, what happens if they sanction China? Folks, I've enough said. That's the thing. There's two terrible quality. In one big warehouse in Ireland, there are agricultural crankshafts and camshafts. And it's lined, there's hundreds of them, all made in India, all packed in wooden boxes. There's no one to do quality control. There's nobody in the EU to go to India and see how they're done. I believe they're just cast out of cast iron, and they're machined to basic standards, and that's it. Nowadays, a proper crankshaft is made out of EN19, that type of steel, a chrome molybdenum steel. It's made out of good stuff. It wears down the tools quicker. It's hardened and tempered the right way, and it lasts forever. That's why so many cars, like the Toyotas to Corolla, and maybe the Volkswagen Caddy and the Volkswagen, the engines last forever. Engines last, some of the Volkswagen cars, the diesels, lasted for 300,000 miles simply because the correct steel, aluminium and other components are in there. Keep it to the 20 minutes. You get the point. My job is to bring you up to speed. Read through education, not fake news. We'll see you back for something else soon. Good luck.